All right, so I'm Kelly O'Donnell from Twin Cities Media, and I am here with Ronan Harris from VNV Nation. So thanks for
Very happy to be here. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we're excited to do the interview. So just to start it off, how have you been? How's the tour been going?
The tour's been going phenomenal. I mean, it started off in Europe, October 12th. We did a number of weeks in Europe, then we had a week and a half break, and then we came over here, and it's just flowed on. We have some of the crew has changed out because we work mostly with Americans here. It's a principle of mine that I think it's important to use local talent. So we started out in Texas, we've wandered up the East Coast, gone to the hump, gone through Canada, at least the sort of central eastern, central midwestern parts of Canada, and then yeah, here we are on our westward bound sweep of the tour, and it's going brilliantly. People are loving it.
Awesome. So as far as the record, it's pronounced noir, right?
Noir, yes.
Okay.
There's no funny. I've had people come up going, "I like your noir," album, and I'm like, "Why do you have to pronounce something that is a common word?" It's anyway.
So I got it right.
You did.
I
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, so just tell me a little bit about the inspiration about this album.
About a year ago, I knew I wanted to work on an album. I had sort of prototype ideas or sort of abstract notions of what I wanted it to feel like, and they haven't quite gelled yet. They haven't quite coalesced. I was sitting in my office. I have an office studio set up, and I was sitting in the office working at night, and I had a keyboard on the desk, and I was just sort of getting an idea for a song. I don't know. I just needed to stop and maybe muse for a minute. And I hit on a sound by complete accident that became the thing that gelled the whole album together. From that point, everything seemed completely clear. And it evolves, like it comes from that idea, and I knew it would be an album that would reflect the nighttime, whether it be, I don't mean that sounds really gothy, I'm not a goth, but it was, I mean that word is used over here to mean the whole sway of things.
Right.
In Europe, I am. No. But however, it's not saying that I don't want to be or anything against or anything like that. So it's metaphorical. It's whether it be night, as in things that happen at night, the kind of thoughts that one might have in the nighttime of musing, when you're sitting around alone with your thoughts. I think a lot of creativity comes out. Why I called it noir was that in the late 1800s, a lot of composers and writers and painters, particularly in France, needed a term to describe their feeling of. You have this nighttime creativity, this sort of a seductive darkness that sort of looms, that draws in the creative mind, and it brings out a whole other side of oneself. It's something. It can seem not sinister, but it's not dangerous, but it's a journey through the self and through the psyche, and night brings about that, and it leads us to face ourselves in a way. So the album is one that I would invite people to listen to from beginning to end, because it is metaphorically, it's a journey, it is a form of a concept. It's got some weird moments on there that people don't expect, and that's the point. It should lead you through what you think is familiar territory until it takes you left, right, up, down, whatever. Lyrically, it reflects all different sides of that journey, and until it reaches an end. And it's everything in the album is a cycle. Everything is a loop that. The point that you end at is very much reminiscent of the beginning. So the album starts off with the song Million, ends up with All Our Sins, and they have cues in common with one another. And I know this sounds a bit intellectual, but I can't help putting like layers upon layers upon layers of hidden meanings and all kinds of other representations in albums, as well as just writing songs that people can whistle and dance to.
That's awesome, I like that. I am also very creative. So.
Good. But you know the feeling.
I do know the feeling.
There's a different type of energy around in your mind. You know that the world is sleeping, everything's quiet, the background noise is toned down.
There's a concentration.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
A focus that goes from like until about 4 a.m., 5 a.m. And it was very much that kind of an album. But there's also there's a nocturne on the album, which a lot of people, unless they're familiar with, say, classical music, won't get what a nocturne is. And it was a piece of music that was written to be played at night. But there were people who wrote nocturnes in the composer era, the sort of more formal era, who believed that they were drawing on kind of like this, as I say, this seductive darkness, kind of this, and noir is a word, it's the feminine version of black. because it meant something. It doesn't even mean the word black in that sense. It means something. This sort of there's something. There's something literary about it. There's something poetic about it. So yeah, I found myself writing at sometimes. I was just lost in a dark studio, and everything was it's like shuts off a lot of distraction.
Yeah.
Everything comes out, and you know when everyone's asleep. There's no one there to distract you. All the energies around you are just quieting down, and you do sometimes your best work.
I like that. Do you have a song that you connect with the most on this album?
All of them. I see the album as an entity in and of itself, whereas every song is its own side. There's the very sentimental side, there's the very sort of gung-ho side, there's songs where I feel I'm saying things that these are the kind of things I stand for and believe. Every one of them connects with me. It really is a very intense process for me making an album. There isn't anything where I say, yeah, take it or leave it. Nothing is a filler. I write music purely for myself first and foremost, and then release that and hope that people will connect with it. People will somehow, it'll resonate.
So where do you draw your lyric inspiration from? Obviously yourself. I feel like I compare a lot to a lot of the stuff you're talking about. Like, I agree with it a lot. So, I mean, you're drawing it from yourself, but are there any other outside sources? Like, are you spiritual? Or,
I meditate.
Okay.
A lot of people think that it was a hippy-dippy kind of thing. You don't realize that it's actually just a very normal thing, like going to the fitness center and just working out. It's just something you do that really helps your mind and pushes the world back into a very manageable way of dealing with things. It also opens up other levels in you of being able to process things, other perspectives on the world. Doesn't mean you suddenly have to get into pseudoscience or crystals or pyramids, kind of things like that. It doesn't mean any of that. It's just being very aware and very in touch with yourself. I've always been very empathic, always been very aware of myself and my interaction with the world. So I've read a lot of poetry, I read a lot of books, I love literature, I love when people have something interesting to say, and I guess it all becomes a palette from which I draw. Sometimes it's hit or miss, sometimes you know what you want to say, but the right words aren't there, and it takes time, it's a struggle. There are times when I feel like I'm channeling something, as though somebody is feeding me the song through a glass pane, and we have to work out some kind of communication method to work out what that person wants me to say. I've heard this from so many people who work in the creative field that it's quite eerie. And we talk about this as though we are channeling things at moments, and sometimes we get a clang on, and it feels right. You know inside, I hit it. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it just feels like you're pulling and not quite there. And it's like, as one vocalist put it, he said, it's like a ball of wool. And you pull the right thread and the whole thing comes. Otherwise, it's just, you're constantly fighting with it. This is one of those albums where I aimed up here. And I always say that to people. I aim for an album that's about here. And if I get 50%, I'm happy, because the goal I set for myself is rather high. With this one, I just felt so connected with it that I think I hit it bang on. I can't wait to see what I'm going to do next.
Yeah. I really enjoyed like just refreshing myself, going through the discography and stuff, and seeing the morphing and the progression. The
progression is incredible. People have always asked, the last album I did was where I worked with an orchestra, and we did orchestral versions of the songs. Now, that might sound to other people like, well, was it like, they couldn't envisage it, and they were asking, is it like Metallica? No. When the orchestra is playing along with the band, playing their regular songs, no, it wasn't. It was just music for voice and orchestra, and I wanted it to be solo. I'd been a soprano when I was a kid. I'd always wanted to perform with a full orchestra. It had been one of my dreams. I've loved classical music since I was 5. I listened to a huge wide variety of music anyway, so that dinging means that I should have turned the volume of my phone off, and everybody in the crew is writing to each other about so here we go. The usual kind of homegrown day-to-day activities.
How do you set up your performances? What are you trying to accomplish? What are you trying to do?
I have some vision of how I want it to look and how I want it to come across. I made a promise to myself at the beginning I would never be anything other than myself. So sometimes I'm laughing, sometimes I'm smiling. I'm on 100 personalities all at once. Depends on who I'm talking to on the subject, but someone could mention, I could be laughing about something banal, and someone next to me could be talking about physics or, you know, something astronomy related or whatever. And suddenly I'll turn, like, what? You know, I turn into the child full of wonder. I have a vision for how the shows should look. I decide the setup, the concept for the tour. For this tour, just as an example, I decided how it should be set up and how it should look. In Europe, we had a very wide double screen. It was a kaleidoscope effect. It's tricky getting that done on this tour, but we're getting close. We have gotten very, very close to what we did. And everything is mirrored. So everything that happens on the left, I said to my lighting designer, everything you put on the left-hand side, just copy it to the right-hand side of the stage as you're looking at it. Stage left, stage right. And I want everything to be a kaleidoscope and everything to mirror. That's how I want it to be. And he said, all right, cool. And then he goes off and he does this incredible light shows and light programming, and Wes, our light guy over here, did the same thing. But I knew how I would look in the very first song. I knew how the concert would end. I give direction to everything. I know how I want things to look. I mean, it's not a control freak thing. It's almost like I'm a set designer. We kind of come up in the end. All I have is the producer who says at the end, yes or no.
Okay.
That's it. Or what I prefer to do is no, but.
Yeah.
You can use it like this.
Yeah. And
we come up with a creative, presenting new ideas. I'm limited by what I can come up with. I don't want to come up with the whole thing on my own. I'm not a control freak.
Yeah.
I want people to feed me ideas and I can develop them.
You're like an art director.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
I absolutely adore it.
And what I really like, once I kind of started digging a little bit deeper and stuff, is it's almost like VNV Nation is like an art project. Like, it's not just music.
No,
but it's like whole thing, like the
live show as well. The live show is an extra level. It's almost like you've read the book. Now hear the book read by the author, and the author is going to read the sentences with conviction or whatever, with the accents, or it's really strange.
It's a whole experience.
It's very multi-dimensional, but it also goes beyond lyrics. It goes beyond music because it's a very spiritual and also cerebral thing. And you can also dance to it and whistle it in the supermarket. So it serves all purposes.
I'm super excited to take photos.
Thank you so really. Thank you genuinely for this.
Yeah, I had a good time, and I'm excited to see the show tonight.
All right. Super.
Yeah.